there would be endless amounts of the fallen. You would see like a great fortresses, fortification, and especially the miles upon miles of trenches that have been fought over and conquered and reconquered. You'll be walking over because it's too dangerous to recover bodies. So it'd be literally walking over the places of the dead is who lie there in the mud of the no man's land. But you'd also see supernatural things like the divine powers. Whenever the hell uses supernatural powers, they match it with the divine powers. So you'd see the corpses of biblically accurate angels, which are the sizes of tens of buildings that are hollowed out, and you fight over them. You'd see great demonic weapons that have been brought to a halt, and they are now like skyscrapers of the demonic iron and essence. There is maybe next to a ruined medieval basilica or cathedral. You'd see immense gun placements for the gigantic artillery pieces, which are essential to the fighting of the Great War. Your ears would be all time listening to that. Do you hear the buzz of the flies of Beelzebub, who represents the undead in this period? Is the anything the Black Grail touches, which is the hellish insects and locusts and the clouds of plague that are sent on Earth, is the lurches on its feet, and starts fighting against the anything living. And if they're unlucky, like if a man is the succumbs to Black Grail and there's a dog at the same place, it melds you together. And the creature is sort of a combination of the two. It's sent to war. You're always like every single nook and cranny. It's whatever you're heretic is the fighting for the hell's cause, or you are one of the faithful or one of the great trench pilgrim is almost certainly going to be an ambush spot where there will be a Prussian shock troopers that will jump on you, or from the Kingdom of Aire, there will be a skirmishers. They will wait till you pass. They blow up their mines and backstab you. So you are in a constant horrible danger. But there is also like great treasures, because when the Jerusalem was lost and destroyed completely by the Catholicism, there are holy artifacts that were lost. There is the weapons of the both divine and infernal nature that are more powerful than the bolt-action rifle you carry. And of course there is wealth. There is all the endless treasures. It's from the riches of Levant that you can discover, which is a great reason why many of these bands risk to enter the no man's land. They are less so usually part of the armed forces. So there are certainly those as well here, but far more they are like independent groups that they take a commission from the Duke of New Antioch or from the Sultan, or they serve a certain the Archdevil and go here to find their fortune, as the main armies are preparing for the next assault of the Great War.
Head swap.
I'm Tuomas Pirinen. I've been a professional games designer for 27 years now. Most people on this podcast will probably know me from my 6-year stint at Games Workshop, where I was the head of the Warhammer development and was the creator of Mordheim, as well as the Warhammer 6th edition, Realm of Chaos, and worked on lots of other things. I've also worked on video games, both on PC, console, and on mobile for many years, over 20 years as well. But I've never abandoned the tabletop side, and I made, for example, some tabletop role-playing stuff is the in-between as well. But basically, I've done games for a living for a long time, and we are here mainly to talk about a game called French Crusade that I'm working with Mike from China, who created the original concept, and the James Sharif, who is our head of the miniature development. And between us, we are making a new tabletop skirmish game. It is set in an alternate timeline of 1914, and in the around a year 1190, something went horribly wrong during the First Crusades, and a gate to the actual hell was opened and outpoured a demonic influence. And from then on, all the free peoples and then the infernal forces, and especially human heretics who joined them, have waged a great world war that has been going on for 800 years now, and it's had a great successes and great failures on both sides as the offenses have rolled on and off. There's been periods of well, you can't call it a peace, but at times of when the both sides have been exhausted or gathering their strength, which is then also been followed by advances in technology, which have led into new offenses. So it's the year of our Lord, 1914, and all the signs are clear that the both sides are preparing for the great war that will end all war. And this is the situation where the players are thrown. So in the miles and miles of the no man's land, in the all across the Levant and Europe and the North Africa and beyond, there are remnants, holy artifacts, great wealth, is the ancient secrets, lost super weapons, or all the kind of things you could imagine that the both sides want to recover. They want to scout the enemy forces, discover their new weaponry. And you play one of these special task forces that has been given a task to go into no man's land and wrest is the wealth and the secrets of the other side and defeat any enemy patrols. And the commanding one of these groups that are aligned with some of the major factions is where the game is set at.
Oh, that's what's it like for the players at the table? What are they going to experience? Like if me and my friends kind of get a game going, like how does it feel? Like what are the emotional payoffs that I'm going to get from standing around the table with my friends?
Yeah, I would say that what I've aimed for is that the most of the tabletop games are, for good reasons, remember I do this for a living, are quite rigid. You have your movement, shooting, your whatever it's magic or psychic powers, morale tests, or you have a number of points you have to use. How I build the system is that the first and foremost, it's you can do your actions in any order you wish, but there is usually risk involved. So typically you would look at right. I have my rifleman with a bayonet. Am I going to, and there is cover over here, or there is an enemy there. So will I try to move to the cover, but the cover is too far away, so I have to take a risk. I have to take a dash action that could fail and leave me in the middle of nothing. Or do I try to charge it? It's quite a long way, so the charge might fail. Or do I stand here and take a shot and then try to move? Or do I the move to the close combat, if I'm super lucky, make an attack? It's if I don't take the guy down, do I disengage, which is risky because the other guy gets a free action then, and try to rush into cover? Or if I'm armed with a flamer and there is a trench with enemies in it. So if I run there and I use the flamethrower, I am quite likely to kill or grievously wound at least one guy. But then I'm in the open, so do I take the dash action and try to get away? Mm-hmm. Or if I'm part of a fire team, because the game works on alternate activation. Yeah. That if there is a trench to take over, do I lead with a guy with grenades and then have the other guy charge in, or do I charge in with one guy and see if that works and then follow up the other? But more importantly, there is a system called blood markers. So if I shoot or stab or the hit with a artillery attack, I hit an opponent or mine is hit. Then whenever you take an action, your opponent is allowed to use one of those markers to put a negative modifier to that action. So the other player is engaged just as much when I'm acting, because they have to think that when should I use am I going to leave it when the the guy that tries to attack me when they try to run, or do I save it because I can also use it to modify the injury roll next time I attack that guy, so it's a bigger chance to take him out. So the idea is that at all times both players are playing, not just the person activating the current unit. So I think like in any tabletop game, obviously, if you look at Mordheim, a big part of its draw is, of course, the table. It's very unique and cool that you get to play in this ruined city, and there is no other game really like it. I mean, there are follow-up games like Frostgrave, but that's the original is Mordheim. So in here, this combination of the grimdark alternate history tied to the First World Wars, great trenches, artillery, the emplacements, and all the relics of the ruined past. I think there is also the sort of the visual enjoyment of using like your crazy trench pilgrims. It's one of their own is the broken on a wheel that their battle anchorite carries as a shield, because they believe that the dying on the breaking wheel for the cause will give them protection, which of course in game it does. I think it's that sort of, you mentioned the role-playing aspects. I think that's also a very, very big part of it. And of course there is very, very fortunate to be able to pair with Mike Franchina, who is really, of the modern gaming era, he is one of the very foremost artists, especially in the grimdark space. As you know, I work with John Blanche, and I really think Mike is the mantle prince, is the successor to his the way of doing art. Like, he goes in the places others don't. If you haven't seen his art, is to check them out, because, well, his reputation is well deserved. There is a reason why he did so much of the concept art for Diablo, for example.
Is there a conversation between the art and the game mechanics that's happening? Like, you make a game mechanic based off of some of the art? Does that happen as well?
Oh, daily, absolutely daily, or actually multiple times per day. So we are in a constant discussion. I would say that at least 10% of the game rules are directly lifted from the art that Mike's done. But in the same way, I write a great deal of lore and fiction to the world. It's and in exactly the same way, it informs Mike in his art. And of course, it's a game, so quite often I say, hey, I need this kind of a unit, and then we talk about what it would look like, what's the history, what's the background, how does it fit into the game. Like, to answer your question, every single day, all the time.
Cool. I really like it when I hear about like collaborative relationships where it's something that could only exist between the collaborators. Like, it sounds like you're kind of creating something unique that could only exist between you as the game designer and the artist, that like somewhere in between you two is a game that wouldn't have existed if just one of you had been working on it. You've been working in this type of game design space for a long time now. Do you have heuristics or principles that you use for guiding your work?
Yes. Player agency. It's this one thing. I believe that a game has to feel that your choices really matter and that you have more than one choice, because if you should always take one choice, you can always mathematically prove that you should do A instead of B. Well, I don't feel that you're sort of then on autopilot and just rolling dice. However, I also do believe in rolling dice, because once you've given that agency, you want to see surprising end results. I mean, I think the great thing about the tabletop games is that you have these fictional all real worlds, and you can see that what if this happened, like these troops that didn't almost met but didn't. If we're playing historical game, what happened? Or in our case, you're thinking that a heretic werewolf and the French pilgrims anchorite shrine, which one is actually stronger? Like what would happen when they meet in the even battlefield? That you can answer these questions, and the story can play out if you play multiple times in different ways. So I do believe that there is a important role to a chance. And I also believe that when you're building factions, some of them can be made more reliable, but maybe they're like the spike damage or the ultimate the moves are not available unless you take high risks. And then if you play one of those factions where they might have a lower base level and much more variety brought by randomness, but they can reach great heights. So you can have these really memorable moments. I mean, if you think of Mordheim, that's one of the reasons why diving charge is there. That you can have the situation where you see in the treasure hunt scenario that next turn the other player is going to get out of the table, and then you go, damn it, and your troll slayer who has terrible initiative runs to the edge, and you roll one so you make it, and you kill the vampire and you get the treasure chest. It's extremely unlikely and really risky, but when it happens, you remember it for the rest of your life.
Exactly. I had that exact same thing happen when I was playing. I had one of my dark elves did a giant leap attack at a Skaven that was just about to run off the board in the breakthrough scenario, and I managed to stop him. And it's so cinematic when you have those sort of improbable things happen. It creates a sort of cinematic moment. Yeah,
because actually it's I and most of the professional game designers, we can absolutely make a perfectly balanced game, but nobody will play it because, well, how you do it is that everybody has exactly the same access on everything that the other side has. The chance of the randomness is completely minimized. I mean, there are obviously, chess is a game like that.
Yeah.
It's the purely mathematical formula in the end.
Yeah.
Apart from reacting to other players. And I'm not dissing chess.
Yeah.
But for a tabletop miniature game with a lore setting and a background that is not abstract. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nobody would play that.
I feel like the thing with chess is that as play style has developed, it's become a game of memorizing the plays. It's just how much you can memorize, but you don't rarely ever tell a story at the end of that. You already know what's going to happen because it's played out 1,000 times and you just memorize what was going to happen.
And I'm taking you love chess, more power to you. I definitely won't judge, but it is not the same experience I'm trying to create.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're figuring out the random parts of it, do you write out mathematical functions, or do you just try to test it at the table to see what would happen?
I do math formulas, but I'm a rare in this regard. Quite a few games designers, I'm more sort of warrior, and I'm thinking that did I get it right? I have to write it down and see that the most game designers have so much experience that they rely on intuition, and most of the time they are right. But especially in a game like French Crusade, where I don't have when you have a set the order of events. Yeah. You have much more control over the probabilities. But the French Crusade, I intentionally open it up that I tried to think that if I am a rifleman in the Great War, what are my options? Because I'll give you another example, there is a guy that's behind an obstacle. So if I have an assault weapon like an SMG, I can shoot and charge, but or a pistol, but maybe it's I instead want to dash, create some space, and then shoot. It isn't always go forward the closest guy, take a shot, and then if you didn't get the charge, or if you did get the charge, then fight in hand-to-hand combat, because that means that you kind of are far more limited in the amount of choices you are taking. And I really wanted to open that up. And it came with all sorts of challenges, but there is now quite a sizable playtest community. It seems to have worked. Like the feedback has been extremely positive. So I haven't also, because I'm well aware that if I only ask my friends to play, even if there is something wrong, it's far less likely they will give me honest feedback. But it's been great because I opened it up on the Discord. We are on the 28th Discord right now. It's where our main outside playtest group lies. It's been brilliant, and the people really, really seem to like the system. And I know I'm biased. But I wouldn't be as enthusiastic right now if I haven't gotten such a positive feedback.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to the table, but like the mechanics look great, and I've only heard good things. Talking to people about it this last weekend while I was at the New England Mordheim event, there's definitely some buzz going around of people who are excited. So Warhammer is this way too. This sort of fantastical Catholicism or Christianity. You know, the war between heaven and hell. You also have, like, you're mentioning some stuff around like other Abrahamic religions like Islam and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, why tap into that? Why is it because worshiping a corpse god is cool, or?
Well, there is a couple of reasons. One of them is that the First World War is far less explored, especially from the gaming aspects, that the Second World War dominated the culture for so long, that the Great War was pushed aside. And I think because you were on the edge of the age of the armor and sword and cavalry charges and lances, and like night vision goggles as the gas weapons is the Air Force. Like, you have this mad situation where the ancient meets what even we would consider modern. Like they had night vision goggles in World War One, and that's, even right now, it's kind of not everyday thing, even now.
Yeah.
As for the religious aspects, iconography, like, we have to be conscient of the thing that, especially the West, the Christianity and Catholicism has absolutely dominated our iconography, our art, our architecture, just like Islam has done for the last 800 years in the Middle East, and even longer in Levant, the Judaism in the East. It's obviously you look at the church in Ethiopia. There was a great philosopher said that even the dreams we dream are Christian dreams, talking about the West.
Yeah.
So he was discussing this with in an atheist convention, and he said that you have to be cognizant of the fact of the how thoroughly the way we perceive the world and the perceive art and perceive anything visual, how thoroughly it is based on the Christian iconography. We obviously, we are not theologians. Our point is to make an interesting game, but there is so much of history that is like deeply rooted and resonates with us. No matter what your beliefs are, whatever you're Wiccan, you're Muslim, you're a Jew, we want the game to be playable by anybody. Part of the reason why we put the Iron Sultanate in is that because there is an extremely fascinating history of the Ottomans and the Caliphates, which isn't in well represented at all, but there is tons of interesting history there. We wanted to make a world that resonates with everybody, and of course our own world is where we come from. But since we are not doing a historical game, like, the history has taken a very different turn. We are about to release the map of the French Crusades, Europe, Levant, and North Africa. Things are very, very different. They are, of course, very similar and recognizable. But things have also gone very differently. For example, there was never colonialism. So Ireland is never was part of the British Empire. Neither was Scotland. All the great North African kingdoms are thriving. It's Did you know that the Ethiopia was the first nation on planet Earth that they took Christianity as their official religion?
I had no idea. Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah, so it was way before the West. I mean, it's funny. We think very much of it as it's West, but of course it started in Levant, but it only became like a major religion in Africa first, which is crazy. Because it's very different what you think or hear. But there is so much of our emotional investment and the great stories we know, and the like if I tell you like a story that involves a Samson, it's about the great strength and the that's tied to his hair. That's already like an incredible story. And we have all the history of religious wars and the Crusades and the great European conflicts over religion that we can sort of use because those were dark times. And this is very, very, very much grim, dark game. It's so much of say what the plague did, the Black Death did, how it affected the art. There is so much there that fits perfectly the kind of game we want to do.
What draws you to grimdark over, like other varieties of fantasy and historical? Like, why that?
Okay, so this is obviously like I'm not a young man anymore. So we're talking about quite a distant time. But even when I was a kid, I was drawn to horrified and drawn to because we had these big illustrated history books at home, and the dark subjects, which were very common because death was so much closer to our lives back then. They drew me in. There is something I think very like the fascination with the horrific that resonates very deeply with me. And if you look at it like when I did Mordheim, it's probably the darkest Games Workshop has ever been. And it really was that both me and John Blanche were really into these things. I mean, of course, later I read that the psychologists have found out that it's actually really good for you to explore the dark psyche through a fiction. It actually means that you become much more healthy and balanced individual. So I'm kind of hoping that they are right, that there is sort of a ancillary good effect on that. But I don't think it's a choice for people like me and John Blanche or Mike. It's we gotta do it. It's creativity that needs to come out. Is I mean, obviously, I make video games as my day job, which is of course far more lucrative. Yeah. But I could always do more of that. So, but this is what I want to bring out to the world. I mean, there is a reason why the horror genre, which is adjacent to us, just goes from strength to strength. It resonates with people.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, Crusade is similar to Mordheim. But do you feel like you've learned stuff from your video game work that you're incorporating into this work?
Yes. I mean, I obviously, first of all, there is a lot of people who know me through Mordheim, and I wanted to make a game that if you played Mordheim, that would hopefully only take you like 15 minutes to get into the game. The rule set is quite different, but there is similarities enough, because if in many ways I've streamlined away a complexity while keeping all the depth, rather than added bunch of stuff on top of it. And I think I owe that to the players. I also think that there's got to be some reason why Mordheim is growing in popularity 24 years after its release, and 15 years since there was any official support. I mean, that doesn't happen by chance. There has to be things that went right. But I've learned from video games a lot. For example, I've often struggled with in Mordheim and Necromunda and other skirmish games. There is the descent of doom that once you start losing, you're gonna build back up.
Yeah.
Now, from video games, I learned that I don't have to do it that way. I can put thresholds of the at what point your patron will send you reinforcements. So you can always, if you've just been crushed, that I then allow in Trench Crusade that instead of doing exploration, it's you call for reinforcements, you get back to the average level of points in the campaign. I mean, sure, the people who've done really well, they might have more experience, but at least your force is again very viable. And I also learned that one of the great problems I've had that there are a great difference between the quality of troop types. And if you allow people to buy them in the beginning of the campaign, the very best ones, so the ones that have very specific powers, then you create an imbalance. So you either have to make them so expensive that nobody takes them, which is pointless. Why do you make them? Or it's you have to nerf them, which is if you describe this immensely powerful creature and then it's completely rubbish, why would you take it? But I don't have to run economy on only single currency. So this is why Trench Crusade has glory points. So you win these during the campaign. You can't get them in the beginning. And these then attract certain kind of troops. There are certain kind of equipment, armor, weapons that you can't get in the beginning. So you can introduce them into the campaign once everybody is more powerful, so it doesn't become lopsided. Now, these are both things that I learned from making video games.
That's cool. Yeah, it's definitely like playing Mordheim a lot in the past couple of years. I've seen that sort of dust spiral happen where you're just losing and losing and losing, and you can't dig out of it. And luckily, I think the culture around playing these games is that, like, if you're in that situation, then you just team up with another player and you go 2-on-1 against the best player or whatever, like you GM it essentially. What about the interstitial stuff? So like this last week, I'm playing a bunch of Mordheim. Like a lot of the stuff people love about Mordheim is like falling into a well, or like the stuff that happens between games, like exploring and that stuff. Is that a big part of Trench Crusade as well?
Yeah, huge part. Now, people often ask me what's my favorite game mechanic on tabletop I ever come up with. And I have to say it's the exploration role of Mordheim. I don't think I've ever gotten so much out of a single dice roll you do, because the exploration is your income, it's your exploration table, then you get to modify it with your skills, your troops, and then you get to do, if you get the doubles, triples, quadruples, you get to do cool stuff in the exploration. Very proud of that mechanic. I'm surprised that other people haven't used it. It's I guess it's so signature to Mordheim that they'd be a bit embarrassed. Now, I'm shameless in regards of my own design, so I could reuse it. But how I'm approaching the exploration is that depending what part you're in campaign and what scenario you're playing, there is several kind of stuff you can find. So there are separate tables. So it's usually there is like a sixth available in each scenario, and they could be finding lost people or buildings or weapon cache or the battlefield holy artifacts. And you have a certain number of the dice to affect the exploration. But you need to decide first that you roll on d6 on which one of the types of exploration you're going to do. But if you use one of the dice you get one from winning, there are several sources. If I use one of them here, I get to roll 2d6, and then I get to pick which of the tables, if I roll two different numbers, I get. If I get doubles, then I can choose any of them. And then if I use two dice, it becomes all more. And then you roll again. But again, if you saved any of those exploration dice on that one, you roll 2d6, but if you had an extra one, you get to roll 3d6 and pick the two highest. If you use two dice here, you get to roll 4d6 and pick two highest, and then it's modified by how far you're in the campaign, so the exploration table gets deeper. So I wanted to add a little bit more of player agency again, Because, of course, in Mordheim it is highly random,
Yeah.
which is good
It's
as
fun.
well.
Yeah.
But this gives a little bit more to the player's hands that okay, what kind of stuff am I missing? What does my warband need? What I'd like to discover?
That's awesome. A lot of people, I got the sense that like their favorite part of the game was just rolling on those tables and seeing what happened and telling those stories like after you've kind of picked up all the models off the table. So we're running towards the end of the allotted time. Is there something that you feel like just isn't being covered with Trench Crusade that like should be touched on? Or
Yeah, I mean, there is cavalry vehicles, and this is simply about the real world stuff, because we don't have a investor. We don't want one, because anybody who would have any influence, even indirect, on the creative process, we don't want them. It's we want this to be the way we want it to be, and when we really hope people will love what we do. But even if they don't, at least we were true to our vision. I don't think we could do it otherwise. But that also means that for us to do a full-on, like the plastic kits of the tanks, which we'd love to do, and big artillery pieces, in this first Kickstarter release is simply too expensive.
Yeah.
It's we don't have the funds, because doing a plastic kits is extraordinarily expensive.
Yeah.
So we are still offering like a 6 fully fledged miniature ranges for each of the faction. But if we try to do on top of that the vehicles, tanks, cavalry, bikes, whatever, it's simply we don't have that kind of money. And then we are talking about a extremely serious cash, and we are all working on this for free, obviously. So
yeah.
But if the Kickstarter is successful, we would very much like to see if we can do also a full battle game version that would bring the big guns.
Cool. Interesting.
The flamethrower tanks that use the holy anointment oil to burn the heretics, and the artillery pieces that are cast in the hell that have a caliber of 1,666 millimeters.
Of course, yeah.
Enormous the artillery rounds. So that is the stuff we'd like to do. But really, I think this is a good way to start it, because doing a skirmish game with a fully fledged campaign system, several factions, if people love it, well, we have a pretty good signal then. It would be worth doing the battle game. And it would also mean that we would have some funds to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I mean, this is like an honor to talk to you. I mean, I've been playing your game since I was a kid, so like it's just.
I see. Same thing happened to me when I went to start the Games Workshop, and there was like John Blanche and Rick Priestley, and getting to sit next to Andy and Jervis. That was quite how would I say? It was very. I was very starstruck for a while until Rick came and said, "You need to do all this stuff, and you have a couple of weeks to do it." Cool. It's a very design studio. At least back then, was a very, very good place to get a work ethic, because everybody starts at White Dwarf, and if White Dwarf doesn't ship that month, because it has to ship every month, then you're in trouble, and for a good reason. I mean, if you signed up to do the magazine, you have to do the magazine, right? But that meant that you have to write, lay out, edit fast, do world-class job, and then do it again immediately. And then that gets you into the fast enough pace to do the releases. So the reason why I took this up was that can I do this on top of a full-time gaming job? And I thought, yes, I can. Rick taught me how to do it. So there is a legacy there.
That's very interesting. I love hearing about that. Yeah, because there's like a proving ground for how you all got your work done.
Head swap.